for the 6th.
This is Lawrence D. Adams. This is when spirituality and the game combines. You have the thinking class. And I'm going to change my shot because I don't like what's in my shot right there. Here we go. 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 Right there. I like that much better. This is when spirituality and the game combines. You have the thinking class. We're here today. Let's get into the discussion as we go into the discussion today. There's a demand for masculinity, but there also is a demand for femininity. You've been with us any time this week, you see we've been discussing that. It's been a great discussion because there's a demand for both. And today, I need to really really talk about have we so lost our way that we have forgotten how to even come back to where we need to be at. I think it's interesting yesterday because I do a lot of studying and I do a lot of research when it comes to the show as far as what content. And also what I do is I make sure I listen to the opposite arguments. What I've noticed is when I listen to other channels that are ran by females who are on the opposite sector of what's being said on this side of the sector as far as with male, I realize there's a common thread that goes on. Both groups are mad at each other. Both groups are pointing a finger at each other. Well, let me preface this by saying this first. And whether people like it or not, it just is what it is. Let me say it this way. Both groups are mad at each other. I'm talking about the males and the females. Both groups are pointing a finger at each other, but it only got turned up higher, or the fire got turned up higher when men decided to speak up and to use their voice. And they begin to say what they do not like or what they will not tolerate. One thing's for sure, two things for certain: female and masculine nature is not going to change. As much as we wanted to, the female and masculine nature is not going to change. Females are going to be females, and males are going to be males. It's plain and simple. Many times we're trying to go against the tide that's already inside of us. And that's why I emphasize that both masculine and female is a demand for both. But the first thing we got to do, we got to understand what is female nature and what is masculine nature, or what is male nature. And both sides. And I'm listening to this young lady yesterday, and I made sure I listened to it with a critical ear, non-judgmental. But I really listened to what she was saying. And where she was coming from. She was a younger woman. I believe she was in her 20s. And she was sort of speaking sort of disparagingly about men. What's going on, Glenn? Speaking disparagingly about men. And it's just, and I'm listening to her. And if we would have take the makeup off of her, put a beard on her, and change the whole narrative, what we hear? We hear the same thing on both sides of the aisle. Let me read what Glenn said. Women don't want men to have standards because women don't want to have to reach a standard. Women just are about, but men have to become. And so I've seen I listened to this content creator. She had a lot of subscribers. Women in there was, yes, girl, we on it. We 100%. We with you. We're down. Whatever you want to say, we right there with you. And I thought about this. Are we just speaking to ourselves? Are the men just speaking to themselves, and are the women just speaking to themselves? Why haven't we crossed the aisles and say, hey, you hear what I said I want? I heard what you said you want. This is what we got to do. We need to come together. What's going on, Sharice? When we gonna cross the aisles and say, hey, this is what we want? Because what I'm noticing is this, and this is just the fact of what it is with men who are masculine. They have no time debating, going back and forth about anything that's going on. It's all about execution and straight action. And if you're not on that execution and action, guess what? Zip, cut, is done. So there's a demand for masculinity, but there's also a demand for femininity, as I talked about yesterday. And that demand is so prevalent. And I'm noticing it's from a particular age bracket where it's like the ball has completely been dropped. As I shared this week, a lot of women have been told to be in their masculinity. We have a ton of men who have been who have been pushed into their femininity. And what has happened is we have caused something that has happened. We have caused a whole, as we call it on these streets, a war between the sexes. Were there ever wars between the sexes? Yes. But right now, it has been magnified only because of social media. One of the things I think that's so important that I think men and women need to do when we talk about this is demand for masculinity as a demand for femininity. Before I give that answer, let me preface this. Are we that lost? Are men that lost? Are women that lost? Have we gone that so far down the rabbit hole that we cannot get back? Have we gone down to Kansas and we cannot get back home? Have we been down have we been going down the Yellow Brick Road believing things that are not true about the opposite sex and most of all about each other? Have we gone that far? Or are we at a place where some generations and some group of men and some group of women, we're just going to say, you know what, scratch it, we're going to leave you behind? In any show you notice, or survival show, you realize that somebody has to get cut because they cannot make it to the next level or the next challenge. And I'm realizing that's the case when it comes to some men and when it comes to some women. I'm more and more I'm seeing this. It is a lot to take in and to process. Let me read what Glenn is saying right here. The problem is that women want men to have all the responsibility without any authority. Feminism has taught women to become masculine by sacrificing their femininity, and men have been taught to sacrifice their masculinity to appeal to women's femininity. Correct. That's a true statement. Very true statement. So we have a what's going on, Hannah? But we have a real problem right now because the social construct of femininity, feminists have so tainted our women, and most of all, it has tainted a lot of men. Then we have a whole nother social construct with men who are not willing to stand up and just settle for just anything. As Glenn said here, they don't even have a standard. A lot of men don't have a standard. What do we do? How do we get back? Is America lost? I heard one content creator says that Americans is lost. They might as well chalk it up. Is it that lost? Are we gone that far down the rabbit hole that we don't realize that there's a demand for masculinity and a demand for femininity? I've been watching a lot of content creators on different sectors, men, women, all different races, whatever the case may be. And the same argument comes up between men and women. The real thing is, How do we get together? How do we get back together? How do we resolve what's going on between us? Or is it even worth resolving? Or do some men do like they've been doing, going their own way and say, you know what, I'm tired. I ain't going to deal with you women. Have women even gone their own way? But if we look at it correctly, we realize that a lot of men, and I said this a couple days ago, and I'm going to say it again, their voices, their opinions. And you know what? I mean, let me say it because I've seen this and it bothered me. It's interesting when a man has a preference on what he likes and what he desires that he's shamed about it. But yet women would say they want a man that's over 6 feet, dark, lovely, and handsome, but it's no problem. But when a man says he doesn't want a woman a particular way, men are supposed to just accept this is the way it is, and no one's supposed to get mad about it. That doesn't make sense. And that's, you know, life is not fair. So, but that doesn't make sense to me. But what I want to really get at is, are we that lost? How do we get back to where we need? What's going on? How do we get back? And I believe one of the ways we get back, and this is just real talk. And I'm saying this all the time. You can't save everybody. You can't save no one but yourself. If you've been on a plane any time of your life, the first thing they do, they say when you sit down, get settled, the pilot's going to say, hey, listen to the flight attendants. They're going to give you some important information in case this plane goes down. What do they tell you to do? They go over all the safety features and they tell you in the case of emergency, the oxygen mask will pull down. The best thing you can do is put the mask on you so that you can save yourself first. Not your kids, not your wife, not your husband, not the people around you. You have to save yourself first. And I think the biggest thing that we can do, since it's the demand for masculinity and femininity, you have to save yourself first. I realize some people don't want to hear this. Some people do not want to have a better relationship. Some people don't care about masculinity or femininity. They don't care. They're just going for the ride. I'm more and more I'm convinced of that. When I listen to this young lady content creator, I'm like, you know what? There's no need to get into her chat room and debate her. There's no need to go back and forth with her about her content. And she was doing the very thing that she didn't like. She was talking disparagingly about another content creator. I said, this is interesting. The best thing you can do, don't try to save the women. Don't try to save the men. Some men are, and I said this and I coined this, and I'm going to say it again. Simps are a necessary evil. There are going to be some men who are just going to simp no matter what. I don't care what you say to them, how much you convince them, how much information that you give them. They're just going to be simps. They are a necessary evil. Just as there are roaches, there's a necessary evil for simps. Big thing, we cannot save everyone. Like I shared the information of the young lady who comes in here who thanked us and me for the information that was shared that helped her understand her husband better. That right there is worth it all, but we cannot. I know it's hard. I know everybody got this whole savior mentality. We're going to give all the information to the world and we're going to make them a better place. And I'm not being pessimistic. I'm being the most optimistic. This message is not for everyone. Everyone don't realize that there's the demand for masculinity. Everyone doesn't realize it's a demand for femininity. They will fight you tooth and nail to say, don't you talk about this, because some people are still comfortable in their dysfunction. They're comfortable being the same way they are. They don't care. That it's like the person who's comfortable staying in the same place they're staying at. They don't want to go into another job. They don't want to advance. Leave these jokers where they are. I promise you. I promise you. What we need to do is, when it's the most important thing I heard today from one content creator, is what? Leave them where they are, but we need to get out of beyond this internet streets, YouTubians and Facebookians and everyone on there, and actually meet in public. One of the reasons why, this is a good example. One of the reasons why, and I'm using them as an example only, the group that Kevin Samuels had that was on Facebook, that was set up for men and women to meet, worked, because people had parameters on who the men were and parameters on what the women were. And guess what? Nature took its course. Let me say that again. We so want to control how nature takes its course, because we, both men and women, are such control animals. Control. We want to control how this takes place so that we can predict the outcome. If we just allow, in the right environment, allow nature to take its place, we can get back to where it needs to be at. And one of the things that's so important, a lot of y'all, and I'm all for it. You see me on internet, you see me on Facebook, you see me on YouTube. Get off of the computer, get off of YouTube, get off of your computer, get off your phone, and actually talk to the opposite sex. Actually go out there and interact with a group of people. I promise you, this is the way we get back. What's hindering us, really? We heard the arguments on both sides, but what we need to do is go out there and experience life for real. If you know women are this way, don't deal with those kind of women. If you know men are this way, don't deal with those type of men. We make this as more complicated than what it needs to be, and it's not that complicated. Get out your house. If you need to wear a mask, if you need to have your N95 on and your sanitizer in your hand, just go out there and interact with for men, because it's a men's channel. Go out there and interact with some women. Stop getting even from here. Don't get all your information just from here. Go out there and talk to a woman. Go confirm what I'm saying or any other content creator is saying. Women, go out there and confirm and can talk to some men. Most of the time, people are stuck in their big block head when it comes to the opposite sex. They're stuck in their head. They're having whole conversations, arguments in their mind about the opposite sex that ain't even true. Or could be true, but that may not be true for that individual. We stop ourselves because we are so stuck on this computer. We're stuck on the phone. We're stuck over here. Go out there. If you watch my life, if you watch me, anything I do for us with social media, I'm showing you I'm going out to eat. Many times I go out to eat by myself. I go enjoy my life. The reason why I do it is I want to show, not just from on YouTube that I'm doing this, but there's real life experience. There's real receipts of me interacting with people. Too many people are stuck on YouTube. Too many people stuck on Facebook. Too many people stuck on TikTok. And I know this is not a popular message, and oh man, this will have nothing to do with what we're talking about. It has everything to do with it. Get off of your phone. Get out there and interact. Get off of the dating apps. I've been on dating apps. Been on dating apps since they pretty much came out. Met some good, beautiful women. Beautiful women. Some of we are friends to this day. We're down. I can call them. Hey, we down like two. We're gone. But you got to get out. I'm telling you, us men are explorers. Go explore. Go eat with yourself. You'll be surprised. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, so the demand for masculinity, the real demand is for you to get out of your own way and go get the world that belongs to you. Go get the world that belongs to you. Stop settling for other people's opinion of the world. Stop settling for other people's opinion of the world. I promise you. The demand for masculinity and femininity is so stifled because it's easy to get the information from the tabloids. Or one of the biggest things where we mess up is we look at the movie stars and the rappers and whoever else's life and think that's how relationships are. And we, even though I reported on what Jada Pickett and Will Smith and Lori Harvey and Johnny Depp and all these things, Chris Rock and all these guys, that's their life. Go out there and go experience life. Some of y'all are caught up in the four walls of your house, but you're actually caught up in the four walls of your own mind. You have not tasted and go to a different culture and actually taste the food there, interact with the people. This is the difference from those. This is going to make a difference on the demand for masculinity and the demand for femininity. So you learn more by getting off of the computer, getting onto your phone, and actually interacting with someone that looks different from you and who has an opinion that's completely opposite of you. How do we get back? How do we get back? And this is the true answer, one of the truest answer. And this is one of the things that we teach here. You go within. The way you get back to you women, you get back to your femininity is you go within. Men, how do you get back to your masculinity? You go within. You go back and get reacquainted. Share everybody's thoughts, my thoughts, anybody else's thoughts, and get acquainted with what your masculinity is. Many people don't know that. Many men don't know their masculinity because it never was taught to them, or they didn't have a person in their life to say, hey, this is masculinity. Shout out to you, real. A lot of women don't know their femininity because they've never been acquainted with their femininity. Time to get back to your what? Femininity. See, it's easy to talk about the stars. Oh, look what Lori Harvey did. Oh, look what Michael B. Jordan did. We get so enamored by other people's lives that we forget to live our own freaking lives. We forget to live our own lives. And what happens is we end up cheating ourselves at the end because we never stepped out and begin to explore what was really out there. I'm telling you, I watched this on YouTube. I watched this young lady. I watched her. I listened to what she said. I listened to how she was interacting. And it was like, all we needed to do is put a mustache on you and you would have been what? You would have been blue pill, red pill, whatever. You would have been all of that. She's the polar opposite of the man space. But I'm thinking, as much as we talk about female nature and what we don't like, when are we going to say, you know what, we don't like this, but this is what we expect, and if you can't take it, hasta la vista. And I'm realizing, how do we resolve this? How do we really resolve it? And the biggest resolve is you got to resolve in yourself. It's me first. It is me first. It has nothing to do with anybody else, nobody's thoughts, nobody's opinions. It is all deal with me. When I was thinking about what do I talk about this whole week, about the demand for masculinity and the demand for femininity came up, I realized that most people didn't realize that there was demand for it. Most guys don't realize that women are, not that they're demanding masculinity, but they're saying, where is the masculinity? And I realized a lot of women didn't come into the realization that a lot of men are looking for femininity. One of the things I notice is that a lot of women think they're feminine because they're a female, not knowing that they are not being feminine. So people want to debate, but what is femininity? What is masculinity? I understand all that. But I think when you ask the opposite, the consumer, of what they want, it changes the narrative. We have a big problem in the United States. Not just the United States, this is in Australia, this is in Africa, this is in Europe, this is in Asia. We have a big problem. Some of the other countries haven't been tainted by this narrative of whitewashing anything that resembles masculinity, first of all. And most of all, anything that resembles anything feminine. And who's getting the short end of the stick? Actually, both parties are. But greater who's getting the short end of the stick, because really they're using the women, they think, to hurt the men, but they're actually using the women to hurt themselves. It's like somebody giving you this medicine, this pill, and saying, hey, this pill is going to give you supernatural powers. You're going to be able to do all that you can do. You're going to be the greatest version of you, woman. And guess what happened? She doesn't realize that this pill that she has is actually killing her. I watch as women in their latter years, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, struggle by themselves because they've been told a lie that they don't need a man, that men are irrelevant, they're only used for they're only used for utensils, they are just for usage and utensils, so that's it. You don't need a man. I watch men, and this is because I've seen something. Let me catch this too. I've seen men who never, ever came out of the player stage. And I'm not saying every man needs to. I'm not trying to get you, but some men never came out of that. I've seen other men who have been shamed because they said they want a wife. Oh, I watched it over here in this YouTube streets. I've been here for years. I've seen other men who have been shamed, talked about, because they want just one woman. They've been talked about, not by women, but by men. I've seen that happen over here. I came across a screen at a store today, and they had a non-binary option. Get out of here with that. Yeah, you're right. That don't make any sense. But I've seen it over here. Everyone is not going to be a pimp. Everyone's not going to be a player. Everybody don't want a rotation. I promise you. Some people want that. Some people do. But everybody can't be a player. Everybody can't be a pimp. Everybody can't be a Mac. Can't do it. Don't. Just the thing, I mean this sincerely. Find out what you want out of the woman that you want, men. Find out what you want out of the man that you want, woman. Stop trying to live to somebody else's hype that probably ain't living it in real life, that they're pretending on YouTube to get views and to get likes. So that's why the message is not as strong as it could be, because they're trying to impress and get more likes and more video things, and realize that they're not living that life. I know people that have successful marriages. Then I know some men who are successful at living at a rotation. It is your choice on what you want to do. Stop allowing others to make a choice what you want to do. But the most thing I've seen is I've seen men being shamed by other men for wanting to get married. If a man wants to do that, he needs to get the best options on what is the purpose of why he wants to do it. And equally so, I've seen on these YouTube streets, and they have a term called pick me. There are women who are shaming other women who want to get married. If anybody have seen that, please let me know on here. If you've seen the whole narrative of women shamed for wanting to be with a man, let me know in this chat room. If you've seen the same shaming of women, a man who wanted to be with a woman, let me know in this chat room. It's an evil agenda to emasculate our men and change the gender roles, and it's just confusion, especially amongst the black community. Yeah, of course it is. There's a whole agenda right there. But if you've seen that, yeah, I've seen that. Joe Black's going on. What's going on, Blackjack? Anti-empire building, both men and women. If you've seen women talk about, oh, you a pick me, when was it wrong for a woman to want a man? When was it wrong for a man to want a woman? Have we stooped that low that most people are now shamed? See, we thought the real war was the men and women, but it's really the same sexes shaming their own sex on what they really want. What man don't want a woman? What woman really don't want a man? Now, we inside of that context of what I said, yes, it is a group of people who do not want that. But I've heard too many, especially I heard the women saying that, oh, she's a picking me. And they will fight, they will talk to these women, they will make her feel bad for wanting to choose to be with a man and not chase her career. I've seen women get criticized for wanting to cater. Oh my God. Bruh. I've seen it so bad that these women will go up one side and down another side. If a woman says, I want to cater to her, you hit the nail on the head. I seen that. I seen that so bad. But think about it. What does it resolve? What conclusion do we get it out of this? And why are these women fighting so hard for a woman deciding to cater into a man? Why are the men fighting so hard and shaming you because you want to be with a woman? Why? And you need to listen to what I'm going to say, whether they like it or not. Whether we agree, we can talk about there's problems if you get married, there's problems if you divorce, there's problems if you don't get together, whatever the case may be. But the reason why people want you to be in dysfunction because they get to profit off of your dysfunction. A good therapist is a therapist to help you to not come back to me as a therapist. You can have seen that too, Joe Blast. Sad. Joe Blast, what's good, brother? That's a sad scenario. Women running women away from men because they can't. Right. Men do the same thing too. So this we're gonna cut through the chase too. We ain't gonna front over here. There have been men who have ran down other men for wanting to be with women. Not just any woman, a good woman. There's a difference. I didn't say being with the hoes. I'm saying with a good woman. Man, why would you do that, man? You lead all these women, they're all the same, dog. They're gonna take you for your money. They gold diggers, man. You gonna get with her and you're gonna lose. They'll sell you the story, the sad story. Have an R&B song playing in the background so that you never, ever go out there and find out for yourself. I've seen it too. Men do it too. Men on these YouTube streets do it. I'm not naming any content creators. They'll shame you for no. They'll say, no, leave these women alone. These women ain't nothing but the devil. They're the devils. And guys get no women who are discouraging and can't stand up for these dudes. Right. Trust me, I've watched it. Is there some validity in what they're saying? It's an ounce of validity in what they're saying. It's the type of woman that you're choosing or the type of men that you're choosing. But to say that I should just be stuck on your channel, on say on this channel, I use me, just on this channel and never grow out and find out how a woman's really is. Brother, you ain't fooling me. I like a soft woman, curves and everything else. You're not going to fool me by giving me that rhetoric that every woman is like that way. Come on. We need a party crew of men that travel from city to city to show other brothers how to have a good time. That's a good idea. Good idea. Very good idea. Yeah. I witness men talk about their boys for treating their women good. Oh yeah, man, you did all that for her, man. Oh man, she using you. She got you in the you henpecked, man. She got you. She used you for your money. Oh my God, man, you did all that for her. But they never see the other side of all the things that she did for him. Thank you, Sharice. That's it. You hit Blackjack, you hit it on there. How was the woman treating him? Bang, bong. There it is. So we have shamed each other so bad on both sectors. It is terrible. And most of it is rooted in one word, whether we like it or not. It's always the same type of guys to say that BS, right? I'm gonna tell you what word it is. It is rooted in selfishness. And I agree in being selfish, a healthy selfish, but it's rooted in selfishness. Most of these people are so self-absorbed in themselves that them giving anything to anyone is a dog. They can't do it. I watched it. I've been guilty of saying some of that stuff. Oh man, shoot, you better not do that for that girl, man. She ain't doing blah, 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 blah. But I didn't know the other side, what the woman did for him. We have to be careful. I watched the numbers go down as soon as I said that. I promise you, the real war many times is not the two sexes going back and forth. It is your same sex fighting you from going forward. Facts. Not every man that's good to a woman is a damn simp or a pushover. Dude, you coming with the truth in the day. Right there. That's why there's a demand for masculinity and femininity. And many times, this is the real thing. You got to hear this. I'm gonna read this next comment, but you got to really hear this. She's a good woman and cater to a man. To me, it seems like a man were hating on their boys, wishing they could have the same thing. Correct. But this the real problem is, and you sort of hit it, Cerise. The real problem is this. I'm gonna tell you what one of the other problems. I said selfishness. You think your battle is against the opposite sex. And I watched this, and you need to pay attention to this strategic move that's you've been duped into. Many times the fight that you really have to fight is with your own brothers. And for the women, it's with your sisters. If you get into circles and women are talking amongst themselves and they say, I ain't doing from this man, and you saying I'm catering to my man, I rub his feet, I make sure it's bubble bath, I got his favorite meal. The real fight is with your own same sex. Let a man say he's doing this all for the woman. The real fight will come from his own men. There's where you need to exercise your masculinity. Women, that's when you exercise your femininity. No. I'm going to take care of who I'm going to take care of. I'm going to deal with it. I take accountability for my actions, and he's taking accountability for his. If that was the case, then they were hating. However, either of them have a history with her, or out of the history of her, then it could be possible to be valid. I promise you. Now, I will say this: you do need to take into accountability when your brothers or your women or the women are telling you, you know what, you need to leave that person alone. So don't get on. I don't want them people to take what I'm saying and not get the real issue here. Sometimes your brothers are trying to help you from getting duped because they can see what this girl is really about. Same thing with the sisters. Sometimes the sisters are trying to help you to say, hey, girl, he ain't right. I seen him creeping with Susie Q over here. So you need to make sure you listen with a grain of salt. Promise you. These men don't know how to pull that man out to cause a woman to want to give him that treatment. I thought that their problem is jealousy. So it's something to think about. How do we resolve this? How do we get this? You got to know who you are. The best thing you can do as a man is stand in your own masculinity. Being okay and not agreeing with the what? With the crowd. The best thing the woman can do is stand in her femininity and realize that, you know what, me standing in my true femininity, whether you like it or not, is what I'm going to do. You will not be popular. You will get talked about. You will be called out. They will call you all kind of names, all kind of shame and tactics, so that you cannot be best version. I watched a young lady. Her name is Allie. She's blowing up. She listened to Kevin Samuels and got herself together and got married. Do you understand the number of women of all races that have been attacking her, coming in her inbox, commenting on her things, on her being married, first of all, to a man that's the age gap is really big. I think it's 23 years. 23 years. That's another shaming tactic. Guess what? She's happy. Everyone doesn't want you to be happy. Everybody don't want you to be happy. And I realize, let me say this too. Let me preface what I'm saying. This message that I'm saying today is not for everyone. It's not for the guy who's just 18 years old, who just starting out. I pretty much know my demographics. If you're 18 years old, this ain't the message for you. No. Yeah, Allie's a cool. Allie, I like her a lot. She stands her ground. She don't take nothing from no one. Yeah, Allie online. Yeah, no, her name is Allie. I gotta think of what her name is. She's really good. This message is not, if you ate this message is not for my sons. No. This message, then, if you're 18 to a certain age, this message ain't for you. That's why my demographics are right where they are. This is where people who lived a little bit, been in a couple relationships. Some people that have been divorced, remarried, married, and then whatever the case may be, they say, I ain't gonna deal no more. This is what this message is for. If I was talking to a younger demographic, oh, this would be a whole different message. I would go tell, if it was my sons, go live your life. Go out there and talk to, that's her name. Thank you. Go live your life. Go do your thing. Go talk to the women that you wanted to. Go live. Do not try to be bogged down right now. No, I would not tell my sons I would tell my sons to do that. Got to know your demographic. This is for people who are lived a little bit, experienced a couple bumps on the head. They got their career together, they're moving along for the men. And they say, I'm moving into a different direction, and this is where I'm going. And one study said, and I got to go research it, but you can go verify it, that men don't really mature until they're in their 40s. And we ain't going to talk about when women mature. Yeah, I love Allie. She's good people. Stand her ground. You ain't gonna push nothing over her. Men, we are in a position to mentor the other brothers. Love is tough to get. Love is tough to get around because everything you have is easy. Though, if you ain't patient, even don't even try to help. Correct. So let me say this again. This message, it's not for those that you just 18. Oh, I found your LDA. I'm 18, and this ain't it. This message ain't for you. I gotta realize this message ain't for you. You need to hear it, but it ain't for you. The real message that you need to hear at that age, 18, I think about 20, 25, coming into 30, you need to be on cruise. You need not be on cruise control. You need to be floating through life, enjoying your life, doing what you want to do. Not saying the people in the age bracket that I'm talking to doesn't need to, but it's a complete different message. That's why this is the problem that most people get in trouble with. Because we try to cater the message to what? To everyone. I realize that me talking about masculine and feminine is not for everybody. And I know I got some guys who are 18 and 20 years old. They're getting this. I appreciate your message and things like that. I understand. Don't get me wrong. You need to hear it, but you got to realize, go there and live your life. Stop worrying about what these women want and don't want. Same thing with these women. Go out there and find out for yourself. Thank you. 2 more people need to like. Go out there and go live your life. Because we realize a lot of people need help. They need help. If I was to say that there's a war between the sexes, at one time, me making content, I would agree that there was a war. Now I'm realizing there's no war between the sexes. People are going to do what they want to do. People are going to do what they want to do. And I'm cool with that. What I realize is it could be my brothers holding me back from experiencing my good life. And for you sisters, it could be your sisters holding you back from having a good life. I'll be the first one to say, and I can be very transparent, I made tons of mistakes. I've been married before. I have kids, two boys. I've not been perfect in it. I messed up with family. I messed up at jobs. I messed up with women. But one thing I realized during my course of my life, I don't have all the answers, but I do have some answers. Let me say that again. I do not have all the answers, but I do have some answers. I do not have all the answers, but I do have some answers. The demand for masculinity, is in your face as men. The demand for femininity is there. If you do not embrace this, don't get mad at what you see around you on YouTube, Facebook, in the real world. The real issue is, what have you done to be effectively as a change in this space? Seem like I'm talking in circles. I'm not really saying nothing. I'm saying a whole lot. As many times I'm speaking to a part of you that has been not activated. So it is imperative today that we realize that the war between the sexes, it's not even there. The greatest fight you're going to fight is the old version of who you are. Let me read the angel number for the day, since everybody began to put it in. The angel number today brings an uplifting message of encouragement from your angel, telling of achievement, success, striving forward, progress, and attainment. It is a message to stay optimistic and listen to your intuition and inner guidance as you hold positive expectation and thought of positivity, abundance in all its forms. Set solid foundations for yourself and your loved ones, and as this will encourage, this will ensure that your future prosperity, the universe, and your angels will always support you. But it's your responsibility to ensure that you put in the appropriate work and effort when wherever necessary. Let me emphasize this. You are encouraged to live up to your full potential. Let me put this right here, because this right here is really where it's at. The universe and your angels will always support you. But let me get this right here. But it is your responsibility to ensure that you put in the appropriate work and effort when and where necessary. It ain't me as a YouTuber. It's no one else. It is you. It was your responsibility to put in the work to be the best version of your masculinity. For women, it's the best. It is your responsibility. No one else. It is your responsibility to put in the work to be the best version of your femininity. Anything else is not it. It is your responsibility. No one else's responsibility but yours. So is there a demand for both? Yes, it is a demand for men to be men, to stand in their masculinity. I know there's 120 different genders and different things like that. Okay, fine. Don't even debate with them. Don't debate with, fine. Most people get mixed up in debating with anyone, and we can't tell which side is what side. You don't need to debate with them. Know where you stand at. And someone try to pull you into the debate, let them be. You got to say like John Henry Clark, I debate with my equals and all others I teach. So is a demand for, how do we get back? We only get back to who we are when we realize that we have been lost. You only get back to where, men, you only get back to your true masculinity when you realize that you have been lost. Women, you only get back to your true femininity when you realize that you have been lost. You realize that. That's how you get back. It's like driving a car, and I used to drive with a map. They taught us how to read a map when I was in school. Now they got GPS and your phone and things like that. When I had to go to school, we had to study latitude and altitude and all that kind of stuff. And whenever we used the map, I had to know where the north was, and then to know where the west was, and to know where the east was, I got to know where the south was. And on that map, if I'm going somewhere, we take out the map and we're to decide where we're going from point A to point B. We'll take a pen or a mark or whatever and mark out our destination. Now, while we out there going out to make our destination, one of the things that we would do is realize, wait a minute, I'm lost. So what we would do is stop at a gas station. They'd pull out a map and they say, you should have turned at Route 45 instead of Route 42. Well, how do Route 45 and 42 mix? Well, you know what? I made a mistake. I got lost. Until people realize that they are lost, men will never get back to their real masculinity. Until women realize that they're lost, they'll never get back into their true femininity. They will fight you tooth and nail, men and women. But when you pull up the map, once you type into the GPS system, once you go to Google's map, once you go to your navigation system that is internal inside of you, and realize that you're far from your masculinity, that women, you're far from your femininity, that you can get the proper directions on where you need to be at. And sometimes you got to listen to what I'm saying. the navigation system may go down. And many of y'all, I know many of y'all have been out there and you driving and the navigation system just go down. And it take you in a direction like, wait a minute, I ain't supposed to be over in this hood, I'm supposed to be over here. And it takes you in the wrong direction. You got to be able to say, hey, let me change my accordance and go in the right direction. Two men and women come to that place and they realize that I'm in the wrong place in my life, in my masculinity or in my femininity. And when it comes to men and women, that's the only place where you can make a conscious decision to get back on track and get to where you need to go. Yeah, most people do though. That's why I promise you at the beginning, I'm saying, I know it's a rough thing to do. You can't save everybody. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. You cannot, I cannot, mama can't, nobody. Some people need to learn the hard way. They need to go to school of the hard knocks and need to learn on their behind because it ain't getting into their mind. Let them learn. Let them come to the realization of themselves. With that being said, this is Lawrence D. Adams. I'm going to cut it right here. We out of here. Peace.